Hello, good morning, guys, and a warm welcome to my training for today. In today's training, remember that in our previous training we have studied about web architecture and then also talked about the RC4 algorithm and all that, and then we also demonstrated how vulnerable web is for various people who have actually configured web. We did explain that. We also did explain in our war driving that we did within our country, that the number of people who are actually still doing web, and then we demonstrated how certain is it for you to recover the password to search access points, right? And basically in today's video we will let me just show you the various analysis that we did, right? So basically we did some war driving basically in Ghana here, and then we surveyed the various access points, a number of them with web. We've demonstrated that all these web are very vulnerable, and therefore the owners of these access points should actually stop using web, because it doesn't matter the length of the key, and it doesn't matter how complex your password is, it can be hacked within 5 seconds. And if you watch my video on cracking web, I've demonstrated that there for you, the various processes to go through. Always remember that it's a crime to penetrate into somebody's network. However, it doesn't mean that there's not a possibility to do so. So as a network security advisor, my job here is to basically advise all these companies to stop using web and then use a more secured network like WPA2, which we'll be demonstrating today. Even though WPA2 is vulnerable, we will be giving you the various clues how to make it secured. For web, it's totally unsecured. In fact, a number of people have written a number of books on that. This guy talked about the final nail to web's coffin. You can read about that. Just search on Google the final nail to web's coffin. It demonstrates various vulnerabilities within web and then the various activity. Okay, so for today, based on our research, we are actually interested in this kind of networks, WPA, those who actually configure WPA PSK CCNP or TKIP, and then basically WPA CCNP and TKIP. Basically, I've explained CCNP and TKIP in my research book. CCNP is basically uses the AES algorithm, and then whereas TKIP still uses RC4, only that the key is not static, right? It's basically a temporal key installation protocol. Okay, and then for today we'll basically be looking at these various access points here. There's something like Airtel, Ring, Comet, Ghana, what have you, Star FM, using this e-learning, all these guys. My idea today is to demonstrate to you that all these networks can actually be hacked if you actually do not secure your password very well. Okay, however, I do always advise that as much as possible watch my videos and you understand the various ways to basically protect your various networks. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go to WPA. WPA, let's understand the architecture of WPA and then basically WPA2. Okay, as we did explain, WPA WPA2 actually came out after IEEE found out the various vulnerabilities within web, and as number of people have talked about the various vulnerabilities within web, they saw the need to actually do away with web. However, they had already shipped up devices which were supporting web already, and therefore if they wanted to change the hardware, it's going to be more costly. So what they did was to do the upgrade of web with WPA, where only the firmware was basically upgraded, the software version. So users were asked to actually upgrade their software versions on their various access points, and that actually formed the WPA. So actually so after WPA came up, and then so you see that WPA still use the RC4 algorithm of WEP, and then only that it was basically hashed with a temporal key. All this vulnerability we have already talked about that. I just want to skip to today's, right? Okay, beautiful. Okay, so what is WPA WPA2 PSK? It's actually a personal edition which you basically find it on various access points. All right, if you actually buy an access point and then you log into the access point and then you go to security, wireless, and then drop down to wireless security, you will find this is WPA. So you have an option to choose WPA or PA2 personal. The various versions you can just choose automatic. The only difference between the two is software and then basically hardware. If you choose AES, that means that you're actually using CCNP, as we did explain previously. And then if you choose TCAPE, that means that you are using actually TCAPE. TCAPE is still based on RC4, AES is the CCNP. And then basically let's talk about the password. So we configure the password. You can change the password to anything at all that you want. All right, later we'll explain to you the clue, okay, of how to hack into such password. So a typical example, I'm just going to use a password like what do you think? Let's say activity 1. all right, so basically let's use activity 1. We can even make it case sensitive, it doesn't matter, make it a capital K here. All right, activity 1, that is fine. Okay, so after this we're just going to apply, save, and then we'll demand to reboot our access point, which I will actually reboot. Yes, we want to basically reboot the access point. As I've always explained, web is so vulnerable that no matter whatever you do is very crackable, and then the key is very deterministic. Okay, so because there is vulnerability associated with the initialization vectors of it, right? Okay, so that will install. So while that will reboot, let's continue with architecture. All right, so that is basically WPA WPA2 PSK, the personal edition, which is found in access points. All right, now with WPA PSK, what it actually does is that it will always ask you to have a PMK. The PMK is actually the pairwise master key, and then the pairwise master key has to be derived by both the access point and then the client, right? And then it also derives another key called the group master key. Normally the reason is that pairwise master key is basically used for unicast packets. All right, however, if you have a number of clients connected to the same access point, which is WPA PSK, and then there's a concept of multicasting, right, where the various access where the various clients have to be able to talk to each other. You wouldn't want it's CPU intensive and it's memory intensive to always be generating a PMK. So alongside it generates a group master key, which will basically be shared by those within the group. So PMK and GMK are the two master keys that are basically generated in WPA PSK. That's the first thing. Now the idea here is that the function for deriving the PMK is basically known. All right, and then the function is known by everybody, is known by any attacker, is known by everybody at all. In fact, backtrack counts is pre-installed with this function. All right, so the function to derive the PMK, which is the pairwise master key, is a PBKDF2 function. All right, it's nothing else than it takes the passphrase that you enter, basically the password that you've entered, oh, what happened? No problem. Takes the password that you actually entered. I think cable is down. All right, have to log into this thing again. No problem with this. It takes basically the password that we entered. Hope you remember the password. Hold on. Alright guys, so basically, welcome back. So this is what we're talking about here. Wireless security, and then if we look at this password, so this is basically the password that is used to derive the PM key. So the password that you put here is actually part of the PBKDF2 function, and then what happens is that it takes up this passphrase plus the SSID. The SSID is actually it's like the MAC address of the access points, or basically the clients. Alright, so for example, if you do take here, scroll up here, let me share a typical example of an SSID. This is an example of an SSID. So it takes up this SSID and then also takes up the length of the SSID, right? And then with the password and then the SSID and the SSID length, is hashes this three functions. That's the PBKDF2 function. It hashes this 4096 times. That is iterations, 4096 iterations, and then to actually output a 256 bit key. Alright, just like the key stream by something like that, which we describe in web. It outputs this 256 bits, which is actually the PM key, right? So this is how the PM key is derived. So if you're at this stage, you can see that the SSID is available to the attacker. The SSID length is also available to the attacker. The function of hashing it 4096 times is also available, and then basically it knows that it should output a 256 bits PM key. The only thing that is missing to the attacker is basically the passphrase, right? Okay, good. So from here, after the PM keys are installed on both the client and then the access point, basically it's the same procedure GM key will also go through, just a group master key, so that one you don't need to generate a PM key per session, per point-to-point session, but this is for multicast, alright, or multi-point. So next, it will generate a four-way equal handshake between the AP and then the client. Now this four-way exchange is actually to generate a temporal key. We realized that the flaw in web was because it was using a static key. So for example, if you equate the static key in web to, let's say, PM key, then means that if the PM key is compromised, then means that once you compromise the PM key, you can decrypt every packet on the WPA network, right? However, IEEE said no, the key should be temporal. That means that per session, once you establish a session on the WPA WPA2 PSK network, and then one key is generated, alright, then the key is generated through this four-way equal handshake. After the session is terminated, the key is destroyed, and then when you create the session again, a new key is basically generated after the four-way equal. But the PM key is actually a permanent key which is not used for exchange or is not used for any encryption. Only that the PM key is meant to help you to generate the PT key, which is the temporal key. Alright, good. So this four-way equal handshake is actually taking place so you can generate the PTK. GMK will basically just go through two-way handshake. We will basically explain that as well in our next slide. After this four-way equal handshake, the temporal key is generated, which will be used for a session. So pairwise temporal key, and then the group master, the group temporal key is also generated for if we are doing a group work, right? So basically, now the function of the PTK is also known. It's actually a function derivative of the PMK, which we've actually generated here, plus a random nouns, or is basically a random value which the access point basically generates. It's a long random value string. I'll show you a sample. And then it's also with the S nouns which the supplicant will generate. The supplicant is here is the client, so it's like Now we've generated a PMK, which is the permanent key. Next, generate a random key, which is actually the random key is generated by the access point and the client. The access point one is the A nouns, the client is actually the S nouns. Then next, we know the access point MAC address, and then we know the supplicant MAC address. So if you take a function derivative of all this, you actually generate the PTK, which is the temporal key. So you can still see that inside here, this function is known by the attacker, and the only thing which is basically missing here is still the passphrase, because the S nouns, he can basically eavesdrop over the four-way handshake or basically the two-way handshake. And then after this, to ensure integrity, that it is the access point or the client who is actually transferring this data across, we actually have what we call the MIC. The MIC is similar to the ICV, which was used in web, only that this MIC is actually a function derivative of the PTK. That means that before you can generate this MIC, you have to know the PTK, and then you also have to know about the nonces, the various nonces. Unlike ICV, which doesn't care about what the content of the algorithm is or what the content of the RC4 is, all it does is that whatever you give to it, it will compute an integrity checksum for it. All right. 32-bit integrity. This is not so. This MIC is actually a function derivative of the PTK. It's something IEEE used so that you could tell that you have actually generated a PTK. So without the PTK, you cannot generate the MIC. However, the same procedure of a function of this MIC is that now once it's computed the MIC, which is a function of the PMK, A nouns, what have you here, as well as the A nouns. Once it's generated this MIC, it will send this MIC plus the PTK to the other stage. We'll be looking at it in the other slide. And then the other station, which is, let's say, the access point or the client, after it has also computed its PTK to generate this MIC, and then it will now compare the two MICs, the one it received and then the one it has itself has basically computed. If there is a match, he knows that he's dealing with the right access point or the client. That is something like mutual authentication, which was flawed in web because it wasn't there. Now, in the same way that this MIC is a function, that means that the hacker also has the ability to generate an MIC and then basically can try a number of passphrases, and in each case you will compute an MIC and compare with the one it captured. If he finds a match, that gives him the answer to the clue, right? That means that he's found the passphrase. So that is actually the flaw in web. So basically the flaw here in web is actually that the four-way IPO handshake is basically not encrypted. It can be eavesdropped by the attacker, and then also the various functions are known, and then therefore the only thing missing is a passphrase. And thank God in Backtrack 5 there is a whole dictionary file of various passphrases that are used on various networks. Even worse of it is that most of these access points that people buy, people prefer to leave it by the default passwords. And this default password, for example, this is a TP link. All right, if I go onto the internet and I just said default password for TP link, I'm going to get so much, right? And I can include this in the dictionary file. I'll be showing you the dictionary file and then its content as well, and then you'll also be editing the dictionary file. So all that the dictionary file basically be doing is that it will be making guesses to what the passphrase is, and in each case it's going to compute the PMK and then the PTK and then the MIC. Then to use the MIC to check if the MIC is the same as what it has computed or what it captured, then it knows that the passphrase that it made a guess to is correct, and therefore has found the key to the WPA WPA2 PSK network. Alright guys, so thank you so much for being in this training. It's been good, and I've almost explained everything I want to explain in this slide already. We can just go through as usual. Between access point and a client, you have proof request, proof response, where it tells you about what are its security credentials is looking for to connect, broadcasting beacon frames here and there. After this, as usual, the PMK is generated, and then the PMK we say is a PBKDF2 function of the passphrase plus the SSID plus the SSID length hashed 4096 times iterations to output a 256 bits PMK. Same way the access points also generate is PMK. Now PMK is basically not transferred, it's fixed with the nodes, but this PMK is now used so that you can basically generate the temporal keys. All right, so the first thing is that basically the PMK, we have the function already there. The access point basically send message 1, which is the a nouns, or which is the random value it has basically generated. Let me show you a sample of the a nouns that I've captured. If you do come to the four-way, I've actually explained all these group master key, that the GMK is a group they are not used to include data, rather there. So my advice is get a copy of my thesis work and then you basically just be fine. All right, this is a typical example of the a nouns here. You can find the a nouns basically over here as well. Okay, it's just any random value which is basically generate, and then when we are doing the activity, the cracking, you actually going to see this this a nouns basically as well. All right, I've explained to detail how to do the hack and everything as well right here for you. Okay, all right, good. So back to the slide. So now after it's generated this a nouns, it will send that as message 1 to the supplicant, and then this message will be eavesdropped by the attacker, so the attacker basically knows the a nouns. And then after the client also generates its own random long value, which is called the S nouns. And then now the client, what does the client have? He has the S noun, he knows his PMK, he knows his a nouns. He can go ahead and generate a PTK. So basically after it's generated a PTK, you know that the AP doesn't know the S noun, so the AP at this stage has not generated its PTK yet. So the client now have to compute an MIC over the entire PTK, and then the S nouns, A nouns he has generated, and now send message 2, which is the S noun, so that the AP can also compute its own PTK and then confirm with the MIC that is correct, is the same. If it's the same, he knows that he's talking to the legitimate client and not a fake client or a hacker. So at this stage, the PTK is also generated by the access point, and then that is basically the function derivative of the PTK. We said the only missing part here is basically the passphrase, and therefore the access point also generates its MIC, compares the MIC with what it has received, the same. It's going to send that message 3, which is basically the key installation message. Actually, well, it sends the key installation message to the supplicant that yes, you are correct, and then also sends the MIC so that the supplicant can also check if the MIC is the same. He knows he's talking to the access point. So this is the mutual authentication which IEEE brought into WPA WPA2, which we discussed previously in web, that it was vulnerable because in web the access point can be talking to a client, or the client can be talking to an access point which is not the legitimate one so easily, but here is not that so. Alright, so after the MIC, basically now the supplicant will now has the opportunity to install its PMK and PTK. Why? Because the MIC check was correct. And after that, it sent message 4, which is actually the key acknowledgement message to the access point, so that the access point can also install its PMK and PTK. And then now once it has installed, it's going to use this PTK to encrypt every data between the client and then the access point until there is a disconnection. And then when there's a disconnection, this whole process will basically start again from the PMK. S nouns, A nouns is basically exchange. And then so if we talk about the four-way EPO handshake, this is actually the four-way EPO handshake. Message 1, which is the A nouns, message 2, which is the S nouns plus the MIC, message 3, which is the key installation message, and then message 4, which is the key acknowledgement installation message. So this is actually the 4-way IPO handshake that have been discussed in my work. All right, so this is all that I got for you. In our next video, we will basically be discussing the how to hack into this WPA WPA2. The vulnerability here basically is that if you look into my thesis work, I've explained the vulnerability here is that this message 1, message 2, message 3 are all carried as plain text message, and they can be eavesdropped so easily. The next thing is that all these passwords, all these function derivatives are known. The only missing part is the passphrase, which we are going to use a dictionary to hack into that. So see you in my next video where we demonstrate the vulnerability in WPA WPA2 PSK. Alright, thank you. Okay, so we are still discussing the vulnerabilities within here and then how to hack into all these things. Alright, basically remember that the purpose of my purpose of what I'm doing here is only for training purpose. If you use this to attack a live network, you do so at your own risk, and then you basically be found out. It's only for training purpose, to allow people to know the vulnerabilities within the various access points, and therefore for them to secure their network very well. Based on our thesis work, after this you will realize how to basically secure a network. You do not use cheaper passwords if you are using WPA WPA2. Make sure your password is not in the dictionary, and then you'll be safe. Thank you so much. God bless you. See you in my next video where we crack WPA WPA2. Bye.